Hey, what is up, guys? It is your boy, Kingdom Soldier, and I'm back again with another commentary. Wanted to record this real quick on my way home from work. I want to figure out a way to respond to most of you guys' comments on my last video. I've responded to probably 50 comments, and there's at least 70 more that I haven't been able to respond to. And I'm getting a lot of not negative comments, but I'm getting a lot of feedback on Twitter as well. And I tried to say this in my last video because a lot of you guys just, and I get it, I understand it, you do not want to see the end of a team that literally they've been together so long that some of you guys have never seen another Optic roster. So you don't, like, for you, this is like ending, it's like if LeBron played for, well, let me say it like this. It's like if Kobe left the Lakers 5 years before he retired, and there was all these rumors that he was leaving the Lakers and going somewhere else. Or it's like what happened in Miami the year, or not Miami, but Cleveland, the year LeBron left Cleveland to go to Miami. People did not want to believe it. Even when he made the announcement, people didn't want to believe it. And it's weird to me because not only fans, but even pro players, nobody wants to mention that Optic is making a change. It's like everybody's afraid that, you know, there has always been this kind of like secret, unwritten rule within the game, within the COD Esports community, that you don't talk negatively about Optic Gaming. You guys saw what happened to Duffman when he came on my show, The Sticks, and gave them a C+ rating. Like, that almost ended his career. He did that himself, you know. That kind of dug the grave, and then he climbed in it when, well, we don't have to talk about what he did, but there's like an unwritten rule that you don't talk negatively about Optic Gaming, and you do not talk about that team needing a roster change or even making a roster change, because people get honestly sad. Let me tell you guys, I'm honestly sad. I said this in my last video, sitting there watching these guys play together for what is almost for certain the last time these four guys are going to play together, was saddening. Now, there is, of course, the possibility that they're going to stick. But if I'm honest with you guys, every single person that I talked to at the event, it was like this quiet, this is kind of the response I would get. It wasn't even a response, because I wasn't asking people, hey, you think Optic's going to make a roster change? It was literally like, we would be talking about the event, and someone would say, yeah, man, it's going to be crazy after this. And I'm like, yeah. And I remember one person looking at me and going, well, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, but it's time. It's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a big deal for the community, but it's time. This is kind of what everybody was saying. Like, now, some people, and I'm not saying any names, some people, and I'm not going to say whether they were pro players, casters, team owners, anything, some people that I talked to, they could have been fans. We just had candid conversation. Like, hey, Optic is making a roster change. Who do you think they're going to pick up? Well, I think they're going to pick up Octane. Well, you know, it was rumored that they were going to pick up Octane and John, but that might change now. Well, I heard that this player on Optic has always wanted to play with Gunless. Like, for some reason, the community is afraid to say these things. Like, yes, it's rumored that Formal has wanted to play with Gunless. It's rumored that Optic was going to pick up Octane and John from LG. There's a lot of rumors. Look at all these rumors surrounding me every day. But the community is afraid right now of talking about this. I'm in a position right now where I'm like, look, Optic Gaming is just like every other team. Now, let me not say, well, yes, they are just like every other team when it comes to reporting on them. and it comes to changing their roster. They're just like every other team. There comes a time when change is necessary. Now, they are unique in the fact that for a very, very, very long time, COD Esports has ran on green batteries. And viewership has been dependent on Optic Gaming. The growth of COD Esports was a result of a member of Optic Gaming. I don't think everybody gives Nadeshot enough credit, but when this dude had 1 million subscribers, that meant that there were that many esports fans that were watching YouTube videos. That just created a potential pool for all of us. And as Optic gets bigger, the pool of potential fans, players, participants, attendance at tournaments, that gets bigger for everybody. Everyone now has more potential for more viewership. And when I got into competitive esports, the fact that Optic Gaming, that Nadeshot himself, and that's, of course, Optic has a lot to do with my quick rise that I took when I was doing COD Esports consistently. When I saw Nadeshot and Scump and Hector and the Optic Nation channel, when I saw that stuff growing, I just knew, oh, that's potential. That means those could also be my subscribers, because I talk about COD Esports. If I do a podcast, if I make the sticks, people could watch me because they want to know about those players. And that's what I specialize in, is talking about players. And I've kind of made the decision. I used to be called an Optic fanboy, and people probably thought that, Kingdom is going to be the last person to say that there's going to be an Optic roster change and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying there needs to be an Optic roster change. I'm saying I'm almost certain there's going to be an Optic roster change. I can't say with 100% sincerity, because sometimes Optic, they control the release of information about their brand, and they do it extremely well. So even all of the speculation that's going around right now, some of it may be intentional. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I think that they're going to make a change, but I have people responding to my tweets and responding to my YouTube video like, no, there is no way they're making a change. It's not going to happen. And I just say, why? Why not? What's the reason? And they come up with reasons like some of the things you guys have told me. And I'm not saying you guys are, some of the things you guys have told me is like, well, they're not going to make a change because they just don't like this game. And I'm like, look, I called, one of the things that I was known for back in the day was roster mania, was knowing when rosters were going to change. And I called Parasite joining Optic Gaming. Like, who in the world would have ever called that? Now, when it comes to this Optic roster, the same thing I said about Seth back in the day when I knew he was going to leave and he left briefly to go to Envy, they want to win. There is, and especially when when winning becomes the norm, when you, now not anymore, but when you used to, like, I think there was one point last year where Crim, his average placing was a 1.24 or something crazy like that. Like, are you serious? Your average placing is top 2? Like, what? And that was Crim's average. Now, that's probably gone down, especially with the top 16 they just got. But this team is full of players that want to win. They want to win, and that is why even when they didn't want a team anymore, they stayed together. And a lot of people are like, they won champs together. Why would they ever want to not team? Familiarity breeds contempt. It's the reason why you guys want to switch parents sometimes. You don't even, you don't want to go home because you're just around your parents too much. You don't like them anymore. It's the reason why marriages that don't end quickly sometimes end after 20 years, because familiarity breeds contempt. When you're around the same people for so long, especially if you're not being successful, if you're not winning and you know that you have the ability to win, you know, or you're convinced that with the right players, with the right makeup, with the right team, I would be a champion, and you see all these people winning. I mean, Formal said it right before Stage 2 playoffs on the Codcast. He said, I am tired, or it might have been after the event, but he said, I am just tired of not winning. That was his beef. He's just tired of not winning. Crimsix, Scump, they're tired of not winning. So, remember who this is we're talking about, guys. This is Optic Gaming. This is the team that built this dynasty. This is the organization that literally recruited 4 of the top 10 players in competitive Call of Duty at the time that they recruited those players. And arguably, there were 4 of the top 5 players. No roster is safe. And I said all of this to say to you guys, what I've decided to do is talk openly about this potential roster change, is to even talk about what I think is going to happen. If it doesn't happen, whatever. I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. You know, I'm fine being wrong, but I'm also okay speculating. And the other decision that I've made is I'm deciding to focus on the positive. I'm deciding to focus on the success that these 4 players had together. I'm deciding to focus on Damon. I'm deciding to focus on Matt. I'm deciding to focus on Ian and focus on Seth and how epic of careers they've had in competitive Call of Duty, especially together. Karma, 3 rings. Formal, arguably the best AR over the last 3 years. Seth, one of the most consistent players to ever play competitive Call of Duty. There's not many players that can say, I've been a top 10 player on every game that I've played. There's not many players that can say that. But these guys have gotten to a point where, for some reason, playing together has made it to where they're just not as successful, and their individual talent doesn't even show up as much as it could on another team. And so I think it's time. I agree with every pro player and everybody. I agree. I think it's time. And I think what you saw at CWL Seattle was tryouts. Now, to be honest, Optic Gaming and the organization that owns or works with, I don't know the whole deal, Optic Gaming, are professionals. The changes that are going to happen probably were already in place. Contracts have already been signed, all that kind of stuff. Maybe even before CWL Seattle, because of the way they handle business. They handle business like it's business. And every time that Hex has had to make a tough change, he's always said, at the end of the day, we are family and we are friends. And this is business. And when you do business with your family and with your friends, it can sometimes get messy. The other thing I haven't thought about, which I want to mention, is there is this guy that used to be the face of Optic Gaming that has said that he is coming into competitive Call of Duty. And that guy, with his Rocket Mortgage sponsorship and the success that he's seeing in other esports, probably can afford some pretty nice contracts. So I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of the players on the current Optic Gaming roster wind up playing for Nadeshot. Anything is possible right now. And I'm not willing to be naive and act as if it's not. I don't think that me talking about it is in any way messing with people's contracts or careers or futures or anything like that, because like I said, Hector knows how to handle business. Optic Gaming knows how to handle business. And I also know that every time I've slipped up and said something I shouldn't have said or made an assumption I shouldn't have made, Hector has hit me up. He'll hit my DMs. He'll tell me he needs to talk to me on Skype, whatever it is. It's been a few years since that's happened. But every time I've made the mistake of saying something that just is completely not true about one of his players or one of his teams, Hector has hit me up and said, look, bro, you can say what you want to say, but you got to spit facts and you got to tell the truth. And so what I'm saying in this video is pure speculation. 100%. The craziest thing that could happen is that this Optic Gaming roster just stays together. But let me ask you guys, like blatantly, like honestly, do you see this Optic Gaming team even being a team and being able to get through and past the mental hurdles of teaming together and beating Rise? Like, do you see that happening? What you saw at CWL Seattle was a lot of new teams that haven't got on each other's nerves yet, haven't driven each other crazy yet, winning and doing great. And you saw all the teams that everybody is kind of afraid to say is going to be making changes. They just weren't as successful as they usually are. Go on Twitter, go to COD Gamepedia or the COD World League Twitter and look at the winners bracket. The way that it started. Look at the teams that were in the winners bracket and who wasn't there. GG's to the highest degree to Rise Nation for doing what they did. That team composed themselves and just went off. And Gunless played like Gunless. That dude is... It's, in my opinion, it's not an argument. He is the best player in the game. Why? Yes, Slasher is good. It's crazy that they're both on the same team. But because he's a flex player, that means he has to know how to use every weapon, and he has to know how to move in and out of every type of scenario, and he has to be that player that the team can be like, grab a sub, grab an AR, like, hey, on this map we're going to try this. And Gunless is that flexible player, and when he flexes, he's extremely successful. I'd say Arcides is right behind him, but Gunless is ridiculous. Like, utterly ridiculous. I hope that Rise Nation team can stick. I hope that they stay together. Chance mentioned at the end of the broadcast on stream, this isn't something he told me privately, but he mentioned on stream that that Gunless was getting offers by some teams, but he stayed on Rise. You know, he stayed with that team, and they had a lot of success. And I will say they're a tough team to beat. And if that team keeps winning, they're going to stay dangerous. My hope for them is that when they face adversity, that they keep pushing through it. Optic Gaming has been able to do that in the past, but I think they've just reached a point where being faced with losing, especially the way they did, having their worst placing ever, I don't even think Hector would say, do you guys want to give it one more go? You know, do you want to, like, I think honestly, I think they knew coming into the event. I mean, it's funny because even me, I'm talking to you guys, and I'm even trying to be really, really speculative without saying, like, there's no way this team doesn't change. They need a change. It's time for a change. Like, I'm not even trying to say that because, like you guys, I kind of fell in love with this team, you know, and I loved watching them succeed. You know, them winning champs last year, that was so great to watch. Like, after staying together for that long and people questioning whether or not they should have kept staying together or broke up or whatever, and if I was a recruiter for Optic Gaming, I'm not going to name names. But there are some players in the league that not only line up with the ability to win that Optic Gaming has become accustomed to, but their character lines up with the family nature of Optic Gaming. We've seen what happens when Optic picks up people solely focused on W's or the people that are left, you know. We saw that in Ghosts a little bit, where all their roster like was changed. Like for a few weeks, it was like all these different people were in and out of Optic Gaming, and they were trying out different things. One thing that Hector always says is, if you think it, I thought it. So if they don't pick up Octane at all, they thought about it. If they don't pick up John, they probably thought about it. That was probably a potential roster. If they don't try to get Gunless, they probably thought about it. But maybe Nadeshot is sliding in like, hey, Formal, why don't you come play for me? And I don't know who else they would get, but who knows? Like, there may be, this is one of those roster changes. It's happened in the past to many teams. This is one of those roster changes that could, for a while, change a brand in competitive Call of Duty. And when I say that, what I mean is, if the changes, like, let's just say, let's say that Optic does get Octane, but Formal doesn't go to LG. He goes somewhere else. So now Octane needs an AR, but oh my gosh, I'm looking at a bald eagle. Sorry, I'm distracted. Dang, it is huge. It's one of the things I like about living in Washington State. Like, just see bald eagles just chilling. Like, that's awesome. And I'm right by my house. He's flying like right above my house. Let's just say, but then let's say John leaves as well or something like that. You know, let's say in all the big shuffle that John ends up leaving. And now you have left Slacked and JCap. And although LG as an organization has seen a lot of success, the two players that the other top players in the league would want to play with is Octane and John. So now you have an organization that has become accustomed to being a top name in competitive Call of Duty. Luminosity over the last year has literally been like, well, you always have to put LG in your top 4. I mean, it's like, you can't not put them in your top 4. Same way that we've been with Optic. And the thing that people always say is those 4 players, those 4 players, those 4 players. They don't say Optic Gaming. They say those 4 players. And so, an organization like LG could literally become more like a, well, I'm not going to name another organization that's not as successful, but they could become, they could move into being a top 12, top 8 type of organization. It just depends on, but that could open up the ability. JCap and Slack could say, yo, we're in the league. You know, we're a league team. So players that are not in the league would want to play with JCap and Slack. But maybe, depending on the roster shuffle that takes place, there's league players that are going to be SOL, that are going to be like, yo, Slack, JCap, pick me up. You know, the reason that pro players and everybody else and myself and casters and everyone is tweeting that this roster mania is going to be crazy is because we're all speculating that Optic Gaming is going to make a change. Now, pay attention to who is speculating. When Zuma and Attach and Casters and Momo, and then you got Avalanche today talking about, man, the intel about Optic hit my DMs and this is going to be crazy. when all these people, and even myself, and I went to the last event, I was there all weekend, and I still know all these guys, and so I got to talk to a lot of people. And so pay attention to who is saying that it's going to be crazy. The reason everyone is saying it's going to be crazy is because the temperature of the water says, and the pulse of the community says, well, let me say the temperature of the water says Optic Gaming is making a change. And we know what that means. The domino effect is going to happen. Now, the pulse of the community is that most of you guys do not want to see this change happen. And this could be a change that, much like I don't think it'll be the same type of change, but this could be one of those changes where, let me put it like this. Although these guys I don't think they want to team together anymore, it would be cool if maybe the four of them and Hector, and maybe even Hitch, maybe even all the Optic guys, sat down, got on camera on the most epic episode of Vision ever, and said, we want to thank you guys. This has been probably the most amazing 3 years of our lives. We have won however many championships together. You know, when I walked into the venue at CWL Seattle, they have all the banners hanging, and like 5 of them were Optic banners. We've won however many championships together. We won a COD championship together. We've learned, we've grown, we've become better players, which is a fact. And we faced adversity together. We've grown as a family. We've moved from one house to another state. Like, we've rebranded. We've been a part of the rebranding of the organization together. Like, these guys have gone through so much as a team. And I know that a lot of you guys are not going to like it, but CWL Seattle was the last time that the 4 of us are going to play together. And then let Hector do his thing. You know, Hector's a lot like me. It's funny because we're both the exact same age. Hector's a lot like me because he can get on camera and kind of know what he wants to talk about and then talk, and somehow it sounds like it was prepared. And let Hector do his thing and thank the fans and tell the I'll end the video by talking about this. Today, literally today, my boss, my manager at Starbucks got fired. I don't know if I told most of you guys I'm back at Starbucks, trying to get a job at corporate and slide back into management at the same time. I'm going to see which route. I'm taking both routes. So I'm going to be assessed to go back into being a store manager, but I'm also working with a friend that works in the corporate office to work in the corporate office that's here in Seattle. My manager got fired today, like halfway through my shift. Everybody was crying, and I was like, what is happening? And one of the shift supervisors was like, I'm not gonna say his name, but our manager just called and he said that he got fired. Like, he's not coming back. Like, he's done. And we didn't know this at all. And we're in the middle of a remodel. Like, and this is exactly what Optic Gaming is like. And I'll tell you guys that initially everybody was frustrated and upset and they didn't like the change. And still people are like, they don't understand why. It's not easy to explain everything. It's one of the hardest jobs that I think Hex has, is all the Greenwall fans, anytime anything happens, they want an explanation. And he can't always explain it. The DM came, the district manager came to the store. I called him on the phone. And I just told him, like, bro, I just want to let you know, you're coming into some frustrated people. And what he told me, I caught him in the parking lot before he came in, and what he told me was, he can't really tell us. why the manager got fired. But it was the right decision, and he didn't really have a choice. And what I decided to do was to support the partners and to try to focus on the positive. You know, our manager built us up. We're a great team. We're going to be able to handle this. And we'll work well for whoever the next manager is. Greenwall fans, I said this in my last video and I'm going to say it again. This doesn't have to be bad news. And part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is for you. Because the sting of this change, it's not going to be as bad. Because you've heard about it, thought about it, and maybe you've even began to internalize it. Optic Gaming has some of the best and most loyal fans in all of esports. Sometimes loyal to a fault, but whatever. Now is not a time to try to tweet at Hector and tell him what to do, or what player to move, or who to drop, or who to change, or anything like that. It's not a time to tweet at the players either. Now is a time to appreciate what you've been able to witness over the last 3 years. And it's a time to celebrate the success that you've been able to cheer on over the last 3 years. And I'm sure that you're going to see more success from Optic Gaming in the near and distant future. I know we're going to have great fights in the comments, and honestly, that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to do my best to take some of this craziness away from the Optic organization, because no matter how good their new team is, people are not going to be happy that it's not the team that they've grown to know and love, no matter what. If me and my wife got divorced and my new wife was just amazing and wonderful, and she just like was this like she had magic powers, let's just say, and anything the kids wanted to eat, she could just make it appear in her hand, they would still be like, I miss my mom. That's my mom. I've come to grow and love my mom. Like, you can do whatever you want, but I miss my mom. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be happy about the change. And it's okay that it's time for a change. Nevertheless, this is your boy Kingdom Soldier, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.